Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Register your team today at Game7Baseball.com. Check out the tournaments from Tennessee to Kentucky to Illinois to Missouri, and set your team up for a great spring and summer of baseball, concluding with, as always, the World Series. We really enjoy the World Series with Game 7 Baseball, the Cardinal game. You get all the kids get to roll around. They can't step on the grass at Busch, guys.
No.
But you can go on the warning track. That's okay. And you got to keep on the warning track, but we had a good time out there. Last year, I did. The guys at Game 7 Baseball asked me if I wanted to throw out the first pitch, and
nice.
I got a chance to do that last year, so I'm always grateful to those guys for that. It was a lot of fun, and his name just went right out my head. The young guy, the young outfielder. Jordan Walker. Yeah, I got to throw out the first pitch to Jordan Walker. Got his autograph at home.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's
a
a big
dude.
man.
Yeah, he is.
He is a big man.
But guys, I threw a strike
Look at you.
right off the rubber.
Good for you.
Boom, baby. I was very pleased with myself. I didn't bounce it. I was thinking, don't bounce it, don't bounce it, don't bounce it. And so
you listen to the end of the show enough, you know you're supposed to throw strikes. So good job.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. I took my
Coach P would have taken you out had you not. So
oh man, that's a fact right there. Get out of here, buddy. You're
Next.
done. Oh man. So it's a lot of fun. We got a great spring and summer coming up. We're going to be starting off with our winter workout tour, so we're looking forward to that. We'll have some details coming up here real soon on that as well. Game7Baseball.com, guys. Today, though, and joining us, of course, always the guru on the Prime Sports Midwest video call-in link, Kevin Moulder. Mr. Moulder, how you doing?
doing great.
Good.
Looking forward to today's topic.
Indeed. And we have one of our resident coaches here, Mr. Tony Perkins, Francis Howell High School. Ready? He's got his notes here, Kevin. He's fired up.
I'm serious.
This is what he does this time of year, sits around the fire at night and goes over the scouting reports and
text
gets
my buddies
ready for
in
the
Kansas
spring.
City, text my buddies at Rockbridge. What do you got?
Got to prepare.
Yeah.
Because, guys, it's a loaded Class 6. It really is. I think this is going to be a fun one, going to be tough. I know we've talked about Francis Howell and what you guys have, but I think St. John, I think Vianney is going to be really good. I think Jackson we got down there. I think CBC lost a lot of seniors, the notable ones, but I think there's some schools around here that are going to be in the mix. But besides Francis Howell in this area, you got Nixa down south, you got the guys in the west. We're going to get into all of this here and break some of this down, and let's see where we start.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, let's say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff, that's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
I personally believe that we've got, and here's the other one. I think in this area, I think Liberty, or not Liberty, but Liberty too, but Lafayette. I think Lafayette's going to be a tough out. We just talked. We got Xander Schmidt coming up on a player spotlight. Had a great conversation with that young man, the catcher for Lafayette.
Great kid.
And if their pitching comes around, if they have some pitching in there, they have the offense to compete. I think with anybody. But we're going to start out with the defending champs. I think that's fair. Liberty North, back-to-back state champs. Ryan Stiegel, he's got guys coming back, Kevin. He's got 4 seniors that are, commits. One Power 5, of course, with Trey Schneider. Bo Jonas, though, we don't know yet. He's decommitted from Oklahoma, hasn't committed yet. They're still pretty stacked, aren't they?
Absolutely. That's a great group. Coach Perkins and them have had some all-time battles over the past couple of years that have been extremely fun to watch. Very, very talented group. They're losing what was arguably one of the best, if not the best pitcher in the state in terms of on-field performance, and Tate McGuire, and it's always nice to have that ace of spades, if you will. So there's going to be a ton of talent remaining. I expect them to be in the mix. But as we talk about that side, their district is extremely, extremely competitive. It just as the Howell one is with Zumwalt, the groups there. It's going to be a struggle to get out of their district. Now, if they make it out of that district, I like their chances to make a good Final Four run. But with the likes of Staley and Liberty, they're always going to have their hands full just competing in that district. Although I love the Liberty North team, obviously 2-time defending state champion.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like the Blue Springs and Blue Springs South, I know they got legit arms. It seems like when I talk to those guys from Kansas City, it's kind of the norm. It's the usual suspects, but they have arms. And when you got that arm that's hot and it's strong, you got a chance to win that day no matter what, who's throwing. Blue Springs South's got a guy going to KU. Where's the Blue Springs kid going? Gibbler?
Gibbler's going to Arkansas. Now, I don't know if they've reshuffled the deck on the alignment, but they won't meet until the state championship, I believe, or at least the Final Four.
Yeah, I think
that district goes through Columbia, Missouri, and plays like the Rockbridge, that group. They wouldn't meet, basically, is what I'm saying, until the Final Four, unless the deck has been reshuffled.
What I've been hearing on the west side, Lee Summit West and Staley, and a lot of people are going to be rooting for Staley just because it's Coach Wilson's last year and such a great guy. But Jay Meyer at Lee Summit West got a guy going to Tennessee on the bump with a nasty slider, I've been hearing. Staley's got hitters. He's got arms. I don't know. It's Staley, Blue Springs South, Lee Summit West. That's what I've been hearing.
Staley, they have a lot of pitching depth, led by Earl Beck, heading to Iowa. Coach Wilson's son, Lucas Wilson, has been a mainstay in the middle of the diamond there on the infield, at shortstop, and a kind of a table setter.
Glick.
You got Jackson Glick, the big left-handed swinging first baseman. Kenton Unruh, big power bat, right-handed swinger. Easton Felipe, their catcher, heading to Wichita State. Hunter Hampshire, another left-hander, heading to Johnson County. There's a lot of depth, and that was kind of my point on Liberty North. I love Liberty North, and I think they're one of the top teams in the state. There's a couple other top teams in the state in that very district. So it's going to be one of those extremely competitive districts, just to get out. And just like, we looked at Fort Zumwalt West was one of the best teams in the state last year. Well, they didn't make it out of their district because they ran into Francis Howell. And it doesn't mean that Zumwalt West wasn't one of the best teams in the state. They were, but they didn't get out of districts. It's kind of luck of the draw, and it can change a little year to year on who's up, who's not. So that west side, that District 8, is going to be an absolute battle again.
Well, and that's, going back to your point there, from District 5, Blue Springs South, it's that Fort Osage, Green Valley, Hickman, Rockbridge, Smith Cotton, William Chrisman. 7, this is last year's. And I know they follow a little bit of the same patterns. You have the Lee Summit schools, Raymore, Raytown, Rockhurst, and Truman, and then District 8, the Liberty schools, North Kansas City, Oak Park, Park Hill South, and Staley. And these are all going to be, that District 8 is always, just Oak Park and Park Hill, they're good. They're going to be right back there as well. That whole district is just brutal. And when you look at Liberty North, like you said, Trey Snyder, Harrison Barham, Noah Whaley, the kid going to Drury. You've got, of course, Bo Jonas behind the plate. In my estimation, Coach, and I think this is true personally, when you have a senior catcher and a kid with that kind of talent behind the plate coming back, and you still have talent on your team, that makes a huge impact even with young pitchers, doesn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. It's always hard when you got guys, they're throwing 90, whatever else, and they're throwing, nasty sliders, and you got maybe a sophomore catcher back there, and that's a concern because they haven't seen that kind of arms going on. Or you got a lefty up there throwing frisbees and, they can't receive it. That's a big deal. But if you can come back with an experienced guy, that's where you take your gamble. Do you go with your sophomore as a sophomore on the varsity? If you do, and he does fine, you got 3 years of that. That's an awful calming thing for a coach to have, I'm telling you, because you get junior, senior, he starts to take charge. He starts to become the leader, and he'll hit and he'll receive and throw great by the time he's a senior. So those are the gambles coaches got to figure out. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's always good to have a catcher.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that to me is with you've got that experience and elite talent with Jonas behind the plate, Snyder up the middle. I think right there those are the pieces that you're looking for, building that depth in your team. So that's why I still think Liberty, you can't count them out. We'll see how they do pitching wise.
Snyder may be a draft.
Yeah. That's very possible. He is that talented. And when I want to look at also the other one, we've talked about Blue Springs South quite a bit. They have 8 senior commits on this team coming back. That, to me, shows a lot of depth, a lot of experience. You've got from Colin Dobson going to Central Missouri, Grant Hollister, Indiana, Matt Collins going to Newman, Jackson De La Tour, I guess that's how you pronounce that. Going to Emporia State, Colby Deaver, Missouri Western, Aiden Hallader, New York University. It's probably academic right there. And Jeffco, Jackson Stetnich. You got some depth, you got talent, you got guys moving on to the next level. Blue Springs South is going to be a difficult team to deal with.
Yeah, we'll see them. They'll come to our place in Midwest Classic, which is awesome. We get to see them. Hollister's probably one of my favorite players. He's such a great kid.
Yeah.
He works really hard, and he's a D1 guy. And Ben does a great job. He has good staff that helps him out, and they do it the right way. They understand how to play the game, and, yeah, they're somebody to contend with. he says every time he comes here, he goes, I know we're going to play you sometimes because that's what you do. I said, yeah, because I want to play a good team. we're good buddies.
The Blue Spring South team is loaded again, and last year they were the 1 seed and were upset. I'll tell you what, I like a team that maybe in my opinion, Grant Hollister is one of the best hitters in the state. Period. There's nothing else we need to say behind that. Like, that's just a good statement there. That's pretty safe. But what makes a good team in high school, especially in my opinion, is if you have a bunch of players moving on. It can be to a small school. Then that tells me they got a bunch of serious, committed players. Those teams are going to be dangerous. Yeah, it might take a guy like a Tate McGuire or big arms to win a state championship game. But anytime you got a bunch of guys moving on, that team's going to be highly successful in the springtime. Now they might run into a Cole Gibbler and come up short. Who knows? But they're going to be one to contend with again this spring.
And not only that, they got a junior there. I don't know the name. Maybe you do. They got a junior that's a Power 5 commit on that Blue Springs South team as well. Do you have that name, Kevin? I know I have that in my notes, and I didn't write the name down. My fault. Kevin's working that up before we move to Blue Springs.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I love when you put me on the spot. But, yes, Ashton Nance, big right-handed pitcher heading to Kansas, has been committed for about a year. Physical right-hander that can get up to 90 miles per hour. They'll have their own arms, and Coach P knows that. And, we'll see them over here on the St. Louis side in the Best of Midwest tournament pretty early on in the season.
There you go. And so then I think the next one there, guys, Blue Springs, without a doubt, Cole Gibbler leads that. And I think there's another team. You've got 5 senior commits, and the thing of it is, you got 3 D1 commits there with that squad.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, shortstop Evan McConnell going to Evansville. You got D1 shortstop. You got a D1 lefty. Cole Gibbler's twin brother, Nick Gibbler, heading to Central Missouri, is a heck of a player in his own right. They've been there and done that. I always like teams that have done it before too. I think that experience is invaluable come postseason time. So they've been through it. That's another really strong district, and it's going to be a fun ball club to watch next spring.
Yeah, I think Blue Springs and Blue Springs South might be in a district championship down there. That's what some of the guys I talked to had said. And it should be a whale of a game, especially if their horses are going, but they'll probably go in the semi, but who knows.
What are we seeing, guys, with that middle part? I know Staley kind of moves over. Rockbridge, I don't want to leave them out because I think they're coming back with some talent, and they were good last year. What about that middle of the state right there? Who's in contention?
I talked to Coach Howell last night a little bit, and he's also a friend of mine and really good coach. It's him in the middle of the state, and when he admits it, you better pay attention. Most guys don't want to most teams don't want to brag about their teams and get them in the higher rankings. But, Rockbridge is going to be better than Hickman. Jeff City's got the Martin kid, but they weren't even Class 6 last year, were they? They were Class 5, I believe.
Yeah, I believe they were Class 5, yes.
So they shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Yeah, Hickman, you said?
Yeah. Hickman's, they got a new coach, and, they got a great facility. So they always have arms, but Rockbridge, Tao does a great job over there, and he works. Seems like all the baseball guys go to Rockbridge and football guys go to Hickman, and, they kind of do what they want.
There you go. I like it. So let's move down I want to wait. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody over there. I don't think we did.
Nixa?
We're going to move to the south. Well, I want to bring in Ray Peck. Of course, they got the pitchers. We talk about it's Raymore Peculiar for anybody who is not familiar with that. I don't want to leave them out because they've got pitching. They've had pitching for the last 3 or 4 years. We've seemed to have talked about, right, Kevin? But they don't seem.
They always had the pitching depth, and they haven't had much to go with the offensive side. But anytime you got pitching, you got a chance, obviously.
Agree.
And that puts them in, and that's what we were talking about before we started, right, Coach? They just never seem to be able to balance the team and put themselves in that position.
Yeah, they bounced through some coaches too since Gary Renshaw retired and from Ray Peck, and now Gary Renshaw is another real good guy who's helping Ben Baer, Blue Spring South. Great, you get all quality coaches at these strong powerhouse schools. That's trouble. But they have had.
They do have a really nice shortstop with one of the cooler names in the state. Diesel Parnell is a heck of a player, kind of an undersized guy, heading to Jacksonville State. So they have a nice player there as well. They always pitch it. We'll see. They're in deep water though. There's sharks that swim in that district, so it will be fun to follow.
And last year, the district champs from District 5 was Blue Springs. In District 7 was Rockhurst. There's another team that I don't think we've talked enough about, right? I think Rockhurst is going to be really good.
Well, I've talked to those guys. It seems like every year they say the same thing. It's like Rock is going to be Rock. So I don't know. I don't ever see them. So I know they got a great catcher.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him around.
Evan DeMario.
Evan DeMario heading to Missouri.
Great kid. But you don't know.
They have depth this year. Rockhurst should have a strong year. Lucas Red, right-handed pitcher, heading to St. Louis U. So they have a number of pieces this year to put together a good run.
But they're gonna if the districts stay the same, they're gonna have to come up against Lee Summit West again, and that'll be interesting. So I think those two in that district, Rockhurst won it last year. So, but Lee Summit West, I think maybe a little edge, and then of course Liberty North won District 8, and that's the thing. They won some close ball games. I mean, you forget we were talking. Liberty North and Staley, it was a 1-0 ball game. It was a walk-off, a walk-off bomb that won that game. So, I mean, these margins are really close. And I can see either Blue Springs or Blue Springs South winning that District 5 again. I think that's a toss-up. I think whoever's hot right then, who's ever can scratch runs against pitching.
I think that's what you said. Whoever's hot. And
yeah.
You got to strap it on every game because there are going to be no schmucks in there.
No. And who's hot with the bat?
Yeah.
And that's what happened when you look at just the MLB. The Diamondbacks. I mean, you couldn't throw water on them and cool them off. Those guys were swinging the bat well, and they just about pulled that off. So I think Lee Summit West in District 7 there is standing up. I'll tell you, I think I like Staley in that coming back this year. As much as Liberty North defending champs experience, Staley is. I think you're going to see that battle again if the districts all stay the same. If they don't put different guys in places, which.
Yeah, they got guys. And one thing's kind of interesting is that he's already announced that this is his last year.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that happens. And I know he has a great relationship with his players, just the way he is. He's so easy to get along with. And, well, he'll tell you when you're wrong. But, how the kids react. I mean, and I think if I know the way Dave Wilson does his things, that his kids will compete just a little bit harder just to do it for their coach.
Yeah. I think that's cool. I love that story. And we've got Coach Wilson coming on next week talking about some different stuff with Misha. So you don't want to miss that.
He'll
It's
make
a
you laugh.
Great conversation there. So just an FYI. So that's my thought process on the Northwest. I'm not going to leave. You guys don't have to pick nothing. No sense in that,
I'm staying
Coach.
out of that.
You can't because you're a combatant. We're only non-combatants pick.
I kind of do run the Class 6 for the MHSBCA one. That's hard enough.
Oh, mercy. Let's go to the Southwest. I really like what's going on down there. I think there's some really good baseball being played. Republic, of course, as far as Class 6 is concerned, Nixa, Republic, Branson, I think is going to be right in there again. Ozark, Kickapoo. Kickapoo's always kind of been that team that sits there and has been around. Their program's been around. But I think Nixa is the class of that down there as far as Class 6 is concerned.
Got one of my favorite players at shortstop, Caden Cloud.
Caden Cloud, yeah, heading to Kentucky, and also Wyatt Vincent. They had a fun team last year. They were the real deal, no question about it. There's a lot of good competition down there. I feel like a lot of the schools are at the 5A level. At that level, no, not Nixa. They're 6A. Kickapoo has traditionally been a very strong program. But I feel like you've heard a lot about Nixa and Willard, Camdenton, even Branson. Those guys are all 5A schools. So it's Nixa and Kickapoo. Joplin's had a good run over the past couple of years. So it'll be fun. And Republic is also a very strong program. That whole Southwest area, I know we've talked about it a decent amount. They've done a really good job with their programs and facilities. You can tell they care and invest in it, and it's paid off because they play really good baseball in that part of the state.
A lot of turf fields.
Yeah, and you can tell, as what Kevin alluded to, District 6 basically makes up the Class 6 schools in the Southwest. Carthage, Central, that's there in Springfield, Central High School, Joplin, Kickapoo, Neosho is another one, Nixa, Ozark, and Republic. And I mean, that's the district. That's the Southwest Class 6. Most of the schools down there are Class 5. It's little smaller populations. So you're basically within one district. So one team is going to come out of that, period. Right? So I think that's an interesting thought process when you look at that, because you got 5, 7, and 8 on the northwest side, central northwest side of the state. But you get into the Southwest, you have one Class 6 district there, which really puts a lot of onus on those teams. Nixa, Ozark, Republic, Kickapoo, I think they're at the top of that. It'll be interesting to see how Joplin had a decent season last year, but they've been down a little bit from what I've seen. And when we
Coach
talked,
Wolf does a good job out there.
Yeah, when we talked with Coach Hughes, he still said, Joplin's a tough team to beat.
Yep.
So, but I think, other than Kevin, how much do you know? And this is one of the things I'm hoping to do, Republic down there. They've put up some, they got Trace Harrington going to SIUE. Senior.
Yeah, and led by Cade White, right-hander, going to Central Arkansas. And, yeah, Trace Harrington. That's a really, really I learned so much more about these teams throughout the winter as we enter the preseason, because you'll see these guys. And, Nix is a perfect example. I don't want to say they snuck up on us, but they had a couple of really good young players last year. Caden Cloud, Wyatt Vincent were sophomores, and they were kind of the focal point of the offense. But they had a player move in from Utah, Ethan Taylor, senior, who goes 9-0 for them.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who Ethan Taylor was in this area. He was a move in and creates a huge impact. So sometimes you don't know these things until the season gets going or right before the season. You see a guy at an event and you're like, oh man, this guy moved in from out of state. And it changes a team's fortunes. And, you put a number one on a team with some good young positional players, and all of a sudden they're making a Final Four run. And that's pretty much what happened with Nixa.
I like it. And then with, I've said this before. I'm hoping I can do this again. I'd like to get Caden White on a player spotlight. We did a spotlight with Caden White way back when we first started doing it. And when he was, I think, maybe 14 or 15 years old. So I'd love to get him back on and talk to him now after, some of that experience and what he did. So a nice young man. I'm looking forward to that. And I think that you're battling that district unless Kickapoo comes back. They've got a few guys, but I think Nixa is definitely in line to repeat there in that championship unless Republic has something to say about it. That's just my thoughts on that. Because last year, the district, it was Nixa and Republic, Ozark, and Kickapoo in that district Final Four there. So Nixa come out on top, and I think that's going to be what kind of we see.
And you know what? Ozark has a very good team. Hudson Roberts committed to Arkansas, and Ozark also has a 6'6" right-hander that's up to 90 that just moved into the state, named Cooper Pumphrys. So there could be that impact that we're talking about. Junior right-hander, big arm, and moved in. Now, we haven't seen him compete live in a game, but aware of him and have seen him throw a bullpen, and he is a big dude that throws hard, Coach.
Yep.
Don't you love that length, Coach? Because when they stride out, man, it's 55 feet instead of.
Oh, no doubt. Couldn't move to St. Charles, could he?
I love those big righties, lefties, man, that tall, because you get that long stride and that ball's out of the hand and on you. You're losing a tenth or 2/10 of a second just from the stride, man.
Yep.
It's brutal. Mm-hmm. It's just brutal. See, that's why we call him the guru around here, folks, because he comes up with stuff like that. There you go. Love it. Let's come back over to our neck of the woods here, guys. District 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've got a lot going on. Well, actually, I'm sorry. District 2, that's our neck of the woods. It's interesting that they have Lebanon High School, which is kind of in that middle.
Lebanon could easily compete in that Springfield, but I get it. They just have it filled up. But, yeah, they kind of drew the short straw there, having to make that's about a 2-hour and 45-minute trip, maybe even 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a drive up 44. And
one year they should get to host the districts.
Hope I'm
and
not.
I bet they might be in a new district the next year.
Yeah, because everybody would be like, "How come we got to drive to Lebanon?"
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's start down here. District 1 from last year. I'm gonna go back here. Last year, the District 1, Jackson, Melville, Seckman, Oakville. I think you got the usual suspects. Melville was kind of a surprise last year a little bit. They're going to be good, I think, again this year, Kevin.
Yeah, Melville's going to be this district's going to be pretty solid. There's a couple factors in there that have changed things a little bit. One, Oakville should have Adam Kilburn back, their number one pitcher, committed to Tennessee for a couple of years. He was out most of last year or all of last year, so he will be back this spring, presumably. I really like the Seckman Ball Club. They have Ryan Bradford heading to K-State, junior outfielder. Caden Kohlberg, right-handed pitcher, had Nasimo, Cody Brown, kind of a jack of all trades, but catches, can play infield, outfield, heading to Lakeland. Hayden Boyd, shortstop, going to Jeffco, a senior third baseman, Zach Walter. So they got an older team with a lot of talent. I think Seckman might be a team to really keep an eye on this spring. Jackson's always one of my favorite teams. And, they kind of have an assembly line established down there, and they led by J.P. Sauer, coach, as you recall him from the future games, right-handed pitcher heading to Tulane.
Yeah, he's a great pitcher, great kid too. He's gone through a lot of it in his whole life, but he's a very smart kid, and he understands the game. He's calm, he's got great demeanor, and he's going to get a lot of people out, that's for sure.
Now, let me ask you this, Coach, from your perspective. You got Kilburn coming back off an injury. High school, he's committed to Tennessee. They're gonna make sure he's healthy long term, though, before they really push innings on him. You think?
You'd hope so,
right? And that to me is also kind of tough. How does a coach separate those things? You got this kid's future right there. That's a tough decision, isn't it?
That's what I did with Norfleet. He only threw 6 innings for me the whole year. And he said he was sore, and I said, well, then you're done pitching. So we went through the whole last third of the season without Brett Norfleet on the mound.
And Kevin, your thoughts that you work with a lot of pitchers. You see this. We saw Adam Hatchman, who I think Timberland used him in smaller roles. I mean, he was starting, but they also, protected him. He ended up, though, with the arm injury, and he's working his way back. So Kilburn working back, how does that work there? What's, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with Coach, and it really shouldn't be a hard decision. You got to protect these guys that have special futures, and Brett Norfleet was certainly one of them, and the state of Missouri, owes Coach Perkins a big thank you because he started to play a big role for the Tigers this fall, catching touchdowns and making an impact on the football team. And had he needed a labrum surgery or something, he wouldn't have been able to play football this fall for Mizzou. So, there's the big picture that always needs to be kept in mind, and it's also a sliding scale. Like, the players should be treated differently, in my opinion. Coach Perkins could be a little more aggressive, or any coach can be a little more aggressive with a senior right-hander that's going to be doing a fall rush at a fraternity at one of these state colleges in the fall next year. We're not worried about the future of his right arm the way that we are, some of the other guys. I'm not saying you want to put the kid in harm's way,
right?
But there is a difference, and maybe you can push that guy a little harder, and if he's getting outs and doing well, and wants the ball, then yeah, you can let that guy run a little bit. But sometimes with some of your higher profile guys, they don't like this, but you got to protect them from themselves, and it's just the reality of the situation. I don't know if Coach agrees with that or not. But that's my thought on the situation.
I do, but you're getting a lot of opinions from different places, and not only their parents, but they may have an advisors. Those kinds of guys are telling them to do this. They got their college coach saying, do this. So they're getting a lot of opinions about what to do, what not to do. And your advisor, your college guy, is probably going to say, shut it down. Where the kid and the high school coach want him out there because he's going to be gone the next year,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough thing. And you got to have some high school coaches with some common sense, that
right.
Kevin was saying about, just making sure that you got the best welfare of the kid in your mind. And that's a tough thing. I mean, when your kid's 17, 18, and he's getting all this advice from all these places, that's a lot rolling through the brain.
And I think it's tough also, guys, and just speaking to this, you got kids in this position that are competitors. And, if you've got a team around you, as you look around and you say, hey, we got a shot to win a district title. We have a shot to make a run at a Final Four. It's hard to put that competitiveness down, in my opinion, when you got guys, Kevin.
I agree with you. I think there's an art to it, and I think this is what can separate coaches. Some of the an average coach or a good coach compared to the elite coaches in our state, and we certainly have a lot of very good coaches and some elite, what I would consider elite high school coaches in our state. We're very fortunate; we got a lot of good ones, but if you got a game in March and it's 43 degrees and windy, and coach deals with this. He's got the big horse on the mound, and he's got a guy that's committed to big school U. He's probably the state rule is he can go out and throw 105 pitches, and so he is within his rights to do that, but. In my opinion, an elite level coach is going to read the situation. It's his first time out, and also you're going to watch with your eyes. How's my guy doing? Is he working hard? Of course he's working hard, but is he laboring throughout the outing? Is he throwing 30 pitches in an inning? That type of thing. Or does he have the game on cruise control and he's throwing 11, 12, 13 pitch innings, and he's absolutely rolling. These are things you got to keep in mind, but, early in the season, you might only let your guy go 70 pitches. The next start, he might build up to 80. And then you got your horse, and then you're like, all right, go run, big boy, when it gets into postseason time. Right. When you really have to have him, he's got it there when you need to go to the proverbial whip there at the end on your horse and get him to the finish line.
Yeah, I agree with most things you're saying there. The biggest key, I think, is, and this is where my coaching had to change and evolve, is to know where your guy's at. What's he been doing in the off season? Is he going to the training? And if he's going, I might call up Adam Jansen. I'll say, what's he on? I mean, has he been throwing 50? Has he been throwing 60 pitches? I need to know that going into the season so that some kids are going to be ahead of others just because of that fact. And I think I learned this about 8, 9 years ago when I was playing CBC or somebody, and they let a guy out there, for over 100 pitches in the first week when it's, freezing cold and stuff. And I said, why you do that to that kid? And he said, he's been doing it for 3 months. He's been throwing 100 pitches, on Tuesday all the off season, so he's ready to go. So me as a coach, I had to evolve. I had to figure it out, because when I first started, when I was younger, I would just go 3-3-1, just break it up early and get him some experience and get some innings in. But now it's like, okay, your studs are working, I can let him go 70. I can let him go 80 pitches maybe. Depending on, like you said, Kevin, are they rolling? Are they struggling? If they're struggling, they're coming out anyway, my place. But that's just the way it goes, So it's just, you got to know your kids. You got to know what kind of shape they're in, and you got to do what's best for the kid.
Absolutely. And I'll use two names because I'm comfortable using their name. So, like, you have a senior right-hander named Alex Bryan, who's a stud, heading to Maryville University. Alex is a true pitcher. He's got a 3 or 4 pitch mix. He commands the zone. He understands how to pitch. He's going to get in and out of innings pretty quickly most of the time when he's working well. He's not the guy that's going to need 25, 28 pitches to get through an inning. If he's right, he's able to carve guys up, get outs on one pitch. He can certainly strike dudes out. There's a guy that might roll early in the throughout the season, but he might be ready to go, and he's not playing a winter sport, and he's ready to pitch. You get a kid like Jordan Martin, who's one of the top prospects in the state. He's also an elite level basketball player. Starts varsity, has since his freshman year, and he's more of a power type pitcher. He's trying to blow it by guys like a Norfleet from last season for coach. That type of guy, you probably can't turn loose early in the season. You got to build him into that role, so you got him at the end. So it's not all apples and apples. It's apples and oranges, and that would be a scenario where I would treat two guys completely different.
Yeah, Jordan Martin's interesting. I've got the Midwest Classic schedule on our website, but we're playing Jeff City the first game, and I'm kind of curious what he's going to do with him, because he's also their shortstop. I mean, he's a great athlete and a great kid. I mean, he's going to Arkansas himself, and but do you throw him in the first game and he's going to play a doubleheader on Monday, and then play him at first base, or DH him a second game, and then you got to come back play on Tuesday? You know, when do you fire your gun?
Yeah.
He said he was going to be very average. I said, you're not very average at one spot. And so, you know, when do you do? I don't know. I don't think I would throw him, because your defense is, when you use your shortstop as one of your pitcher guys and you start messing around with those guys on the mound, it affects your defense as well.
Yeah.
And it screws things up. I mean, if you can keep your defense as steady as possible, you know, that's what you want to do, because your defense is going to help you win. You know, that's what you got to have. So I don't know, if you take your marquee guy and throw him in the first game and let him go 70, 80 pitches, he should be shot for the next two games.
Yeah.
That's where coaches get in trouble. They don't do that. They stick him right back at shortstop, and then, like, by the middle of the year, he's got arm problems.
And that's kind of a recipe for not having him be at his peak when you actually really need him when we get to postseason play, in my opinion.
Yep.
That was great. District 2. That was good stuff.
Sorry.
I love that. No, I love that. And folks, see, that's where Oakville. So those are good points. And when you're talking about why we're looking and talking about these things, this is where we're at. These are the players. This is your teams. District 2, I like, Lafayette surprised everybody, I think, last year, beating Marquette, then Eureka in the district title, and coming out of that district. But I don't think they're going to be a surprise for anybody this year. I still think they're a little weak pitching-wise. Marquette's going to have some dudes. You got Kellenbrink over at Parkway South. They had a down year last year, though.
You're going to win when Kellenbrink throws.
Yeah. But honestly, guys, looking at this, you have Lebanon, who I think is going to be very good again this year. Down kind of an outlier there, but Vianney, I think, is the team that's going to be the tough one to beat in this district.
Yeah, I think that from people I've been talking to around and stuff, they got Vianney as like the number one team in St. Louis.
That's not a stretch. It really isn't.
It's okay by me.
I like how Coach did that. I
thought I
that.
might slide by there. I've gone it.
Vianney is absolutely loaded. There's a lot to talk about there. First off, and always first, I really like him on the mound. You got Nick Stewart, J.D. Dorman, Jaden Ferguson, Charlie Spoonhauer, all going to be D1 guys. Ferguson heading to A&M. Dorman sitting on multiple SEC offers. Spoonhauer heading to Missouri State. You start with that, and they got plenty of pitching depth there. Then you can go through the bats, and Trey Jezorowski, for my money, is also one of the better bats in the state. Can hit for average, can hurt you. With a ball in the gap or over the wall. Nolan Jaworski, physical presence, 6'5", left-handed bat. And he's interesting. He's more of a pure hitter. He's going to hit for a very high average, can hit to the other side of the field, kind of a gap-to-gap guy, although I do think power will come one day for him, but he's going to hit for a high average. Riker Benz, another big-time bat, committed to Oklahoma. So, there's a lot there. My one question on Vianney, and they're going to be one of the top teams in the state, is they're defensively. I think that'll be the key for that ball club, is how does it all stack up from a defensive standpoint. But they're certainly one of the top teams in the state and certainly the area. In Coach P's opinion, the top team in the city. The other teams I like. Too. Are they this year?
Oh, yeah. And
very nice.
CBC jumped in too.
It's going to be great as always. That Lafayette team has a lot to like though too, with Xander Schmidt, catcher heading to Kansas, just a really good athlete. Michael Callahan is an absolute burner. Outfielder heading to Missouri State. Paul Pratt. Had a huge year for them, heading to Drury next year. So that they have a good amount of depth, and I think that they have some other young guys coming up the pipeline. I do agree with you, Brian. If they get some pitching to stabilize that, their offense can really go. And they got hot last year and ran through that district.
Yeah.
Cole DuPont survived.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I'm happy for him.
He's energized that program. Yep. I think they needed a breath of fresh air, and he's done that. Because Lafayette, man, you look back. I know this for a fact because I have family that nephews that went to that school, played in that program, and it's a storied program. I mean, Lafayette has history, man. There's some serious dudes that went through that school.
David Freese, Ryan Howard.
And it was, and I'm sitting here talking with Aaron Jaworski and Evan Pratt. They both are Lafayette alums. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about these are guys that they have a rich history, and I think it's cool that that's bringing back, and you got Cole DuPont doing that. So I think that's fun as well, energizing that again. And there's some good rivalries over there between Marquette and Eureka.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think Parkway South is going to be a team to keep an eye on. They had a little bit of a down year. They dealt with some injuries, but
the head coach is there
they
now?
have a great – they got a good young coach, Matt Brown, former player at Missouri State and
Grizzlies
and Arkansas. So he's taken over the helm this year. So that's exciting. And they got a really top-end 1-2 with Eddie Ahern on the mound, and obviously led by Brady Kellenbrink heading to LSU. So good young pitcher, Luke Sullivan behind him. So there'll be another team that could have a say in things as well.
Guys, District 3, we're saving the last one for you, Coach.
Thanks, appreciate it.
District 3, CBC, DeSmet, Francis Howell North. This is what was last year. There might be a few changes. Kirkwood, Pattonville, Rittner, SLU. You look through that.
It's DeSmet.
It's DeSmet. I mean, CBC they could, but they're a little down. They lost a lot of seniors. I think he's going to have to see what he's got with some of these young guys. I mean, you're not going to go in there and roll over CBC. I don't think that's the case, but they might not be as formidable as they've been in the past few years. DeSmet pitching. It's so you talk with Coach Canavan, and I've had that pleasure, and we've been doing he's such a mild-mannered dude. he's one of the nicest people you'll meet, folks.
He knows the game.
But man, he can coach and he gets guys and he knows what to do. He seems like that cerebral guy that just kind of stays quiet and guys just respond to him.
Does his thing. Yep. Great coach.
One of many great coaches in the area, and he's certainly towards the top of the list, if not at the top. That DeSmet Ball Club is going to be very strong this year. Sly Tuneri, Braden Waikula on the mound. I've heard some injuries might be possible, but we'll see how that plays out.
2 guys are hurt.
Charlie Wortham, big time player for him. Landon Edmonds, competitive kid, plays with fire. I like him a lot in the outfield. So there are definitely some really good pieces to this DeSmet Ball Club, and I'd expect them to have one of their stronger years in quite some time.
Yeah, Coach had said the other day he had some injuries they're dealing with, so he's not quite sure yet how that's all going.
2 arms.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
How that's going to ring out. He didn't say. He just said dealing with some injuries, like Kevin said there. So we're going to – I think that's kind of wait and see, but I think they're the top team there. Kirkwood, they lost Tyler Macon. Or not a lot, but he graduated. Big-time bat. We got to see him play. And I know Kevin's always – he roots for his alma mater. And he enjoyed that win last year against Webster Groves when we did that game at Baldwin. He was digging that.
Hey, a Kirkwood win is always a good thing, but it counts as 2 when it's against Webster.
I love it, man. I love it. And Macon had a great game in that one, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He ran one out to left field and to lead off the game, as I recall, and kind of energized that Kirkwood Ball Club, and they had a big night. One quick note, because we've been talking about this, Webster Groves and Kirkwood are both will have field turf fields this spring. So that's exciting. And, Lindbergh did it last year, and, obviously if Kirkwood does something, Webster's going to do it, or if Webster does something, Kirkwood's going to do it. So it is a good thing to see just in the area. Facilities keep getting better and better, and the commitment. We talked about the southwest portion of the state doing a good job. But I love seeing that, not only because that's my alma mater, just across the board, schools making a commitment and getting more practice time in March. And, facilities do matter. They do matter. And congratulations to Webster and Kirkwood for stepping up in that process and helping their teams out.
Just to your point there, when I talked with Coach Montgomery after the state championships last year, they put in field turf there at Festus. And he said it was a night and day getting out, being able to practice earlier, getting those reps, because when you're not in the gym, you're actually on field. He said it was a tremendous difference in how they were able to prepare for the season. So I think that's a great point, Kevin.
And I'm not just saying this is my honest thought. When a couple of years ago, when I first started PBR, and we'd get rain, it'd be early in the season, it'd be raining. I'd have 2 options. I'd go to Vianney High School because they'd have turf, or Coach Perkins would be playing because he has a tarp and no one takes care of their field better than him in the area. So unless you have a tarp, a legitimate, good tarp, and knowledge and willingness to take care of your field, because it takes resources, it takes work, and it takes knowledge to maintain a great grass field, and that is not easy to do. And Francis Howell, Coach P, you obviously do it. I know you've won Field of the Year. When was that? Was recently, wasn't it? You won Field of the Year
last year.
I think I was the only field nominated.
Oh, well, you didn't need to say that, but
Nobody would have known.
But point is, I'm a dirt and grass guy personally. If I have my pick, if I got a pro grounds crew and big time mowers and the right dirt and the resources to take care of it, but it's tough to practice on March 3rd when it might sleet at 1 a.m. the morning before, and then it happens to be 49 at 3 o'clock. You got field turf, you're out practicing on the field. That's the beautiful thing about that.
Guys, I like DeSmet there. SLU still got the arm with DuPont. I don't know as much about SLU in that district. I still think it's going to be pretty competitive, but not to go ahead, Kevin.
Pattonville has a senior or a junior left-hander named Mason Lee committed to Arkansas State that I like a lot. He's a two-way player. He'll need to be an impact player for him, but I could see this district being a little bit open this year. DeSmet certainly with the talent we've pointed to that. Coach Canavan's got a good group. You never count CBC out, but they did graduate a lot of guys. Dumont at St. Louis U High. Obviously really good player. St. Louis U High also has a nice shortstop, Charlie Ison McCall, heading to Lindenwood. So there is talent there in this district, but I do see it as this could go a number of different ways. I wouldn't be shocked if a number of the teams come out of this one.
Let's finish up here. District 4. When we look at this, it's a lot of GAC, Francis House Central, Zumwalt West, Liberty, Fort Zumwalt North, Timberland, Troy. I still think it's a very solid district. I mean, West always competes. You got the freshman system. Nick Alagna, his senior year, going to come back. I think they lost a lot of their pitching. They lost their two guys from last year, definitely. And so I think that's a question mark there. They do have talent. It'll just be what maybe a year to get those guys back to that spot there with Coach Goff.
I hope.
I hope.
Those guys wear me out.
Yeah, they do. You got them once, Coach, and it's all that mattered, right?
Yeah, there's only one time that really matters is right.
Oh, my goodness. You got, Francis House Central. We got Coach Beckman coming up. We talked with him. We will see the GAC preview here not too much longer. I think they've got a lot of young talent. They've got a good sophomore, freshman class. They got some kids, but I think it's kind of you're going to have to see. He said it himself. There's a lot of open opportunities there. And so I think Central they'll compete. They'll always compete, but I think, they're a year or two away from putting themselves in that place. Timberland is the one there that I think they still have Richie Swain. You got Carson Ramos behind the plate. The young center fielder, Kevin. For Timberland.
Is it Post?
Yes. He's dynamic out there.
Yeah. Timberland has some pieces. I mean, Richie Swain's right-hander heading to Mississippi State, can be in the low to mid-90s. Ramos behind the plate. It's obviously, really important to be good up the middle, and they should be. So, they'll be certainly one to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. So that's what you're looking at there. I think Zumwalt North, we'll see what they've got. I know the other one here, though.
Loman. They got a good arm.
Yeah, the team, though, that I think is going to maybe the team that competes there is Liberty. Mark Reeder's squad over the Liberty Eagles in Wentzville. Liberty's stacked. They got some dudes, and they've got pitching. Kevin?
Yes. They certainly do. Ty Holman heading to St. Louis U, Braden Schnurbush going to John Logan. They got some talented dudes. Need to see them put it all together this year, but they have the pieces to make a good run. This is an extremely tough district. It reminds me of District 8 a little bit over in Kansas City. There are a number of teams that can step up and be a challenge to a Howell, a Zumwalt West. They just have to do it now. And a couple of these teams have the pieces to do it. We'll see if it happens now. They have to go knock out the champ to do it. And that's easier said than done, but it will be fun from our vantage point, Brian, to watch.
Exactly.
We'll see. To me, the class is Zumwalt West. They're always right there. They got good pieces. Nolan System kind of leading the charge there now. And then, Coach isn't going to like this, but Howell is absolutely loaded this year, really deep. Titus Sissel is just flat out one of the best players in the state. He's going to be an extremely fun guy to keep an eye on. He keeps getting better and better. It wouldn't shock me if he has a big off season, if he turns into a guy that has scouts' attention this spring, and could end up possibly being a guy that his name gets called by one of the MLB teams next summer. But beyond him, you got Leo Humbert, Jackson Vaughn. We've been talking about Jackson Vaughn, when we just talk about, hey, who are some of the younger guys, like not the main dudes, the Naputis and Norfleets, and we've brought up Jackson Vaughn, and he's kind of developed into one of the main dudes now and going to Wichita State. And the other thing I like is they just have a lot of pitching depth. Lots of guys. Alex Bryan, we talked about him early in the show, and he wasn't the number one or the number two, but he was the guy that saved him at the end. Got him into won the district championship for him, and took down Fort Zumwalt West. He'll be back. Shipley heading to St. Louis U. Quinn Redfield, and I know I'm missing some, Coach. If you want to expand on it. But there's some serious depth.
Really, this team is going to be probably our deepest pitching group that I've ever experienced, and that's saying a lot because I've been around for such a long time. But I mean, we got like 5 or 6 guys that are committed, to throw in college already, and then you got 2 sophomores who are marquee guys, are going to be Power 5 guys, and Jake Brett Schneider and Dylan Curtis. I mean, there's a lot of guys that people aren't talking about, which I kind of enjoy that. But Braden Ray, and people forget that Jake's got an older brother named Jack, who's about 6'6", 6'7", who was hurt, quite a bit last year. But there's numerous guys. Coleman is committed. Quinn Redfield's committed. I mean, all these guys are 88 plus. And if Shipley's spot on, he's going to be great. There's no doubt arm wise. If they aren't great, I'm going to the next guy. I mean, I got 13, 15 dudes, so it's just next. Here we go.
If you're not throwing a strike, there'll be a cha-cha line back and forth from the bullpen.
And we're deep enough. We can play 5, 6 games. I mean, I love it. I mean,
yeah. And
usually we're way ahead of those teams. If we come up against a team on game 5 of that week, and we're game 5, most of the time we're going to be ahead in that arms race.
And we're going to have the GAC preview show with Coach talking about his team. We're going to get in depth on that, and we'll talk.
One thing that's kind of interesting about Coach's team, and it's a great position to be in, because I think it'll allow him to develop these kids a certain way. In my opinion, maybe his best pitchers are the older pitchers, but his most talented pitchers are these couple sophomore kids that he has. when it's all said and done, these two guys are going to be really special between Jake Brettschneider and Dylan Curtis. It will be interesting from afar to see how that transition happens because, like I said, these kids have elite talent. They're going to be Power 5 type guys. Now, one of them might choose to go to an elite baseball school that's not in the Power 5. That certainly could happen. But these guys are both guys that could end up being pro type guys. Then you compare that to the senior battle tested guys that might not be as talented per se, but are a little further along right now, and they've been in the fire before. They've been there and done it, etc. So that's in my opinion, that's a good spot for a coach to be. But it will be fun to watch that unfold as their season goes.
Maturity.
Guys, we're going to wrap this up by I'm going to throw out, I'm not going to do too much, but I think it's clear. I think you're seeing, I think Howell is on paper. We ain't played a game yet. Top team in the state. I think you have the most depth across the board. You have Blue Springs South, Nixa, and then throw who else in there. I mean,
Bailey, Liberty North,
Liberty,
yeah.
Kansas City,
Liberty.
Lafayette, yeah, Liberty, Kansas City. We don't know enough about Liberty, Wentzville yet. Vianney. I mean, throw them. I mean, all of those guys, all these teams, to my opinion, are top 5 teams. Kevin.
Eureka won 30 baseball games last year. Yes. They're a team that's going to be right. It's a really good group.
So I think it's very difficult to rank this group. I think you have a lot of 1+ A, B, C, 2+ A, B, C. I mean, I think there's so much competition between these teams. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we're going to have a really good Class 6 baseball season. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. So that's what we got, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. We're looking forward to it. Thanks to Kevin for his knowledge. Appreciate Coach P dropping his knowledge, reaching out to coaches, talking to people, and we appreciate it very much. Everybody, thanks. If you got your top 5, top 10, please comment below. We'd love to hear from you. It's always fun. We're going to drop a GAC coaches poll here not too much longer. We had some fun with that. Appreciate Darren Sissel for helping me with that, work that out. It'll be fun. Absolutely, man. We're doing some fun stuff here. Everybody, please, if you haven't done it yet, hit the subscribe button. Get you subscribed to the channel, Youth Baseball Midwest. We work to be the most comprehensive baseball talk around. And with these two guys, we can do that. That's what's good about it. Hit that dinger next to it. That gets you all your upcoming episode notifications for episodes such as this, and we appreciate it very much. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Come back. We got our player spotlights coming up. We got our GAC preview. We got more coming as the season approaches. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, give them some advice.
Keep throwing strikes.
Coach, hitters?
Hit them where they ain't.
It's good advice, folks. We'll see y'all next time.